Alright, everybody, welcome back to We Talk Freely, brought to you by Local Spin and Green Table Gaming. Uh, Unfortunately, we've missed a couple episodes the past few days because I ended up in the hospital with an insane fever. Doctor said possibly even could be COVID. Don't know, we didn't get a definitive answer on what it was, but they gave me a bunch of antibacterial or antibiotic treatments, and man, it was rough past couple days. But I'm feeling a lot better now. Things are starting to come around. So, as soon as I'm feeling better now, I wanted to get an episode out. I know I'm still not 100%, still fighting through it a little bit, but definitely at a point where I think I can go over some of the massive amount of news that has come out the past few days. And wanted to go through some of these articles. It's wild. I've got so many tabs up here to go through, and so I kind of want to just go ahead and start getting into it. We've got some new overlay pieces here. And as you see, today is actually going to be the first episode that we are loading up to Rumble. So I'm excited to see who starts tuning in there, what kind of response we get. For new people coming into the show, this is just me going over news stories, giving my opinion, and I want to see what people are saying, see what people think about what I'm saying, about what they think of these news articles, whatever it is. Just let me know in the comments below whatever your opinion is. Nothing is wrong here. Just keep it friendly, and we'll have some fun. As you also see, I'm intending here to be set up on Twitch here pretty soon, as well as looking to get into Kick media as well. See that platform is starting to grow pretty well. Great competition to Twitch. I want to reach out to as many people as possible. Again, sorry if I sound congested or anything of that nature, but we're going to get through this. And as I'm saying, we're going to get through this, and I'm telling you about how sick I was. That's the first news headline I want to get into today. Over there on CNN, first story that we have is it may be time to break out the masks again, some experts say. Now, I want to say, first and foremost, CNN has got to quit doing this. Some experts say and the vague terminologies that they use in their articles, it really doesn't cut it for me, and that's why I wanted to bring them up first. You guys need to really source out what experts you're referring to. That's not good enough when you just say some for the American people. CNN used to be one of the primo sources of information back in the day, and now they've just kind of become this vague information opinion site. And it's really sad to see such a mega giant like CNN fall so far because of reporting like this. Uh, we can do better. We can do a lot better. But in this article, it goes on to say, let me see if I can get my information. It goes on to say that the risk of infection and COVID has increased recently in the past few weeks. But I want to say, as much truth that may have to it, this is also back to school season, and as a parent myself, every year I always get hit with something around this time of year, and I should have known that I was going to get sick, and I got hit hard, real hard. I mean, I had 105 fever and everything. This is that time of year that everyone gets sick. It doesn't necessarily mean it's COVID. Not saying anything against COVID. Not saying any kind of conspiracy theories or anything like that. But this is that time of year, every year, as far as I can remember, that people are getting sick. But with that being said, CNN does have reason, right and reason to bring alarm to that, as it is going to be a problem. So people do need to take precaution. We need to start washing our hands more. We need to be careful about people that are showing symptoms of any kind of sickness, illness, cold, flu, whatever it is. Just kind of be aware of it. Maybe start cleaning off your doorknobs a little bit more with those little bleach wipes. Start just taking precautions in mass groups and things like that. Back when I was in the party scenes, the rave scenes and stuff like that, we used to call this the Wook flu season, because people go to music festivals and stuff like that, and they would get in these massive groups and end up bringing home something and getting everyone around them sick. So I definitely would suggest heavily taking precaution. And as we see here in Georgia, Morris Brown College says that they are reinstating their COVID mask mandates. Not a big fan of the mask mandates, but I can understand why they would want to take precautions in all of this. This was CBS Atlanta. They're reporting on this issue. It's not a bad idea to take precautions. No matter what your political leanings are, when it is sick season like this, you got to be careful. Should we be reinstating mandates and things of that nature? I don't think anything should be mandated, honestly. You run your own risks. You're free to put yourself out there if you want to. Some people believe in herd immunity. Some people believe in specific scientific studies. Regardless of what it is that you do practice caution in all of this. Again, wash your hands, protect your breathing space, but don't start rushing to conclusions. Don't start panicking and things like that, because it just creates hysteria that doesn't need to be. I have theories about some of the people that got really rocked by the COVID infections back in the day when COVID was really big. And one of my theories, and this is all opinion, and this show's about opinion. This is about talking freely and getting ideas out there. So I'm not saying anything indefinite. But one thing that I've noticed is that stress itself can be a massive factor when dealing with these kinds of infections. A lot of people say that when they got sick from COVID, that it was the worst that they had ever dealt with, is the worst feeling that they were ever put through. And I can believe it. And I believe that stress, personally, I believe that stress played a huge factor in all of this. Normally when flu season and stuff like that came around, people are very nonchalant about it, and if they got sick, they're like, crap, I gotta take a couple days off of work, or miss school for a couple days, whatever it was, yada, yada, yada. And they would just go out and they would get antibiotics or get whatever medicine that their doctors prescribed, sit down with a bowl of soup or ice cream, whatever it is that they wanted to do, and they would just tough it out, But when COVID came, the media had created so much hysteria that people were literally panicking. They were freaking out. And I really think that added a lot to the chaos of the entire COVID virus season that we dealt with before. So a lot of these people, because of the stress, I believe their immune system had actually been reduced because of what they had already done to their bodies in panic. They were worried about catching it in the first place. They were wearing all these masks and things, and they were reducing oxygen flow in their systems, making their bodies a little bit weaker. People with the lockdowns, and some people in my circle have pointed this out about me. When people lock down or people doing stuff that I'm doing, I'm heavily invested in the digital space, and I'm not getting around people as much as I used to. So when people are locked down, like I was, they're not being introduced to all these viruses or bacterial infections or whatever it is, so their bodies don't know how to fight them off as well as they used to. So when they do end up catching these things, man, it hits so much harder than it normally would. You know, my daughter, she doesn't get as sick as I do because she's constantly, you know, she's at school, so she's constantly surrounded by people. She's involved in sports, she's involved in like dance and stuff like that. So all day, every day, she's always around people. She's always having this stuff introduced to her. And so, you know, her body's a lot stronger. It also helps that she's younger too than I am. You know, I'm no spring chicken. I'm getting up there in my years. So, you know, my system has definitely been weakened when you consider all these factors. Now, one thing that I've noticed in the past few days, you know, I've been down, but I've been sitting there going through my news feeds and checking out different magazines and papers and sites and stuff like that. And I've been listening to people talk about this stuff, and a lot of people are starting to make assumptions that this is very politically motivated. I personally can't tell them they're wrong either, but I'm not going to sit there and say that they're right. There are things that I worry about. You know, with flu season every year, that is something that does rack our country, and I'm sure it racks many people in other countries around the world. Um, but it does seem politically convenient that this stuff is happening right here around election time. You know, we see everything that's going on with Donald Trump in politics right now. We see Joe Biden taking a knee on many issues that are facing this country, especially with what's going on in Hawaii, which I'm going to get to that here in a few minutes. And people are just, you know, they've had enough. You know, now when we hear the news organizations come out and start talking about COVID, people just are not taking it seriously anymore. We saw what happened last time with COVID. Everybody went out and got vaccinations, everyone locked down, their lives were ruined, they were made to be miserable, businesses were lost, jobs were lost, everything just went down the drain because we freaked out, we panicked about COVID, and instead of trying to build ourselves up stronger, we put ourselves in a much, much weaker position. And we're starting to see a lot of backlash out in the public about all of this. Yeah, let me close out this window here. I was on Truth Social this morning, and what was it? Citizen Free Press, and they post a lot of stuff on my timeline since I started following them. But one of the things that I found is something that I'm commonly starting to hear when I'm talking to people in the streets. Now, if you're watching this with your volume up, you have kids around or something like that, you may want to mute it or something like that, because the woman in this video actually uses a lot of, I guess you could say, colorful language. And I'm going to unroute my microphone and I'm going to set the audio up over here because I've been having audio issues in trying to translate video straight to my software here. So this seems to work a little bit better. I'm going to set this close to the speaker, and I want y'all to listen to this. Maybe put it to your headphones, turn your volume down at first, but listen to what this woman says, because, you know, not only is she mad about COVID and everything, she's also very, very upset at our current administration. And like I said, I think this is honestly a very common opinion that I've been hearing a lot lately, regardless of what political affiliation you are.
Oh, they got all of us fucked all the way on up is what's going on. We don't give a fuck about no new COVID strain, United States government. We don't give a fuck. Biden, you ass still got to get the fuck on out. You still got to pack your bags and get the fuck out. If I got to come to the White House and move you out myself, you still got to get the fuck on out. Point blank, period. We don't give a fuck about no new COVID strain. I was just thinking the other day, I hadn't heard Nathan about COVID. And then boom, here come a new motherfucking COVID strain. We know that this shit is for the elections. We already know. We not dumb no more. Thank you, TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, for allowing us to get up here and find out the truth amongst one another. Cause you still gonna get the fuck out. Bye. Bye.
Yeah, I honestly do believe that her opinion is not far off from what most people in this country are thinking. They're sick and tired of the weaponization of this virus and what it's been doing. You know, we saw throughout the entire last election, presidential election, we saw COVID itself get completely manipulated and used. We rolled out all these new drop boxes because people were sick and they were afraid to get out and vote. We saw a lot of politicians, you know, they really ran their campaign on it about how they're going to bring the COVID numbers down. We're going to make the place better. You know, and after Biden got elected, you know, finally he removed the COVID mandates and everything kind of went back to normal. And it's just, you know, I think people are just done. They're just done with all the nonsense. You know, one of the things though, she also brought up a point about social media and how it's being used for us to communicate with each other. You know, right here, you know, on Rumble and on YouTube, I'm able to talk to a lot of people. I'm able to get my opinions out there, whether my opinions are valid in your eyes or whether my information is accurate or not. We're able to talk freely about this stuff. Using our free speech here in the United States, we're able to get our ideas across and compare them to one another and make good decisions from there on out. Well, at least I'm hoping you're making good decisions. I've made a lot of choices in the past few years for myself and my family, and the vast majority of them have come out to be for the betterment of my family. My daughter is healthy. Aside from me being sick today, you know, in the past few days, I've been very healthy. My family has benefited very much. But there is some drawbacks, and I don't have a lot to go in on this next article here, but this is something that came across my timeline from the Post-Millennial. I want to bring this up. It's been, let me see here. Give me that. Get that out the way. There we go. So it's been revealed that the Biden DOJ wants to use TikTok to spy on Americans. I thought this was a very interesting article here. It goes on to say the United States government regulators attempted to reach an agreement with TikTok to avoid banning the app in the U.S., which should have granted the federal government extensive control over the app, according to reports. This is something that conservatives, for the most part, were very, very concerned about when this whole thing went down. Was that like about a year or so ago? And I think it's very problematic because these free apps, people, they don't read the terms and agreements that these apps require for you to use them. They don't worry themselves about the tracking and things like that, but also oftentimes don't know the dangers. You know, a friend of mine actually pushed back on me about this. He's like, I don't care if a government is tracking me or these private businesses are tracking me. And to me, hey, that's fine. That's your opinion. If you don't care that anybody's tracking you and that your personal habits and everything like that are out there, I mean that's good for you. But there's a lot of people in this world that do want to stay private. They don't want their information tracked. And personally, it becomes very annoying for me because as I'm trying to bring you these ads and things like that, a lot of these ad systems track your personal behavior. And when I'm putting up news articles for you guys, some of these ads are just showing like everything that I've been doing in my personal life. A friend of mine, if you go back and you watch a couple episodes, a few friends of mine and I were talking about possibly going to a music festival or something like that. And so every article that I brought up here had advertisements for different music festivals here in Georgia. And it's like, well, luckily, I talk about Georgia. I talk about how I'm from Georgia. But if I was doing a stream where I didn't want people to know where I was from, then now my ad services that are completely embedded in all of this and all that tracking data and everything like that is being splashed out to my viewers. And it reduces my ability at that point to bring that information to you. It's like I can't show these articles because I have all this stuff on the sides showing exactly what I've been talking about, where I'm from, what I'm doing, where I'm trying to go. And that becomes a big problem. This article, though, goes a little bit deeper into it. It says, according to Forbes, the draft agreement that was compromised in the summer of 2022 would have given the Department of Justice and Department of Defense more access to TikTok than any other social media company. The agreement would have granted these federal agencies to search TikTok's U.S. headquarters files and servers without notice. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but that does sound like an invasion of privacy by the government. It's like a back door into your information. Like I said, some people want to stay hidden. Some people want to just be on their own. They don't want to be bothered by their government, whether they're doing something illegal or not. That's what they're doing, and people do have a right to privacy. Now, if you're up to something completely illegal and the government wants to use that to bring in like a murderer or something on that kind of a level, there's an argument to be had there. And at that point, I'm not going to fight against it. You got some, mass shooter or some serial killer or something like that, and the government needs some methodology to catch that person and bring them to justice. I'm not going to be angry about that. But if it's like, we saw with crypto and stuff like that back in the day, people experimenting with a new product, trying to bring a new industry to light, and the government is now attacking them in the background for trying a new business venture, that's when I've got a huge problem. And I'm sure there's many examples that you guys can bring to me. I'm just a normal everyday guy. I'm not the smartest on all of this stuff. I'm sure there's millions of examples that you guys can bring to me of why we should not be tracked or why we should. I'm definitely open to have this conversation with you guys. Please put something in the comments below on that if you have any more opinions on that and want to go any further. But while I was sick, while I was down, in the past couple episodes, some of the things that we've been talking about was old Biden there and his response down in Hawaii and everything that's going on. And, while I was sitting there in the hospital, I happened to see his arrival down in Hawaii, and it really was not met with open arms. 2 weeks late, Joe Biden shows up while vacationing on the beach in Delaware and going to, what was it, a mountain resort or something of the sort. While there is fires raging, people are dying, children are being burned alive. just mass chaos. Our president was not taking this stuff very seriously at all. And the people of Maui seem to be pushing heavily back. There's a lot of videos that I kind of wanted to put up today, but there's a lot of cussing. I think that's going to happen in some of these videos that I'm going to show. But people are pissed. People are very angry at Joe Biden's response to all of this. What you see on your screen right now is an article from the Conservative Brief. Maui residents give Biden an earful for delayed visit to Maui after deadly wildfires. Yeah, I saw videos with his motorcade driving to the locations to check some things out, and people are on the sides of the roads with signs, giving them the bird, screaming F you and all of this stuff. And it just seems to me that people are just getting fed up with his nonchalant response. It just does not seem like he cares, and I really hope, at the end of this, that the people of Hawaii have learned a valuable lesson about who they vote for in all of this, because you have a lot of Democrats who wanted the position but did not want the responsibility. We've heard reports about how the electricity was not cut off properly. We heard about how the water was cut off early so people couldn't defend themselves from all the fires and everything that were going on. And just constant bad policy decision after bad policy decision caused so much death, so much destruction, and we still have somewhere between 800 and 1,200 people missing in all of this. And a lot of these news organizations aren't reporting that a big portion of that are children. So people, I think, in Hawaii, they have a good right to be mad at the president. They have a good right to be mad at their administration. Like here from the Federalist, they say that this makes our president a liability. And I can't say that they're wrong. I mean, he really is a liability in this. 2 weeks to respond personally to all of this. The day he heard that these wildfires were breaking out, he should have been deploying systems down to Hawaii to help the systems that were already in place. I'm not saying that the people that were down there were incapable of handling their own situation, but something like this, and of course it's hindsight, but something like this, you definitely want to roll something extra out. Especially from an administration that believes that climate change is causing more fires to become a bigger problem. He should be spry enough in all of this to take some preemptive measures to prevent this kind of damage. But that's not the only reason people in Hawaii are really upset. As reported here from the Bongino report and probably like 50 other publications, across my True Social, my Rumble, and across my social medias, Biden, again, is just not taking this seriously. Now, there's been a lot of pushback on this video. I don't know if you've seen this. I'm not really going to worry too much about the audio on this. There were some kind words that were being said, and it really looks like Biden here has fallen asleep. He's nodding off, and there's been a lot of pushback on that. But here's something that I noticed. In this video, almost nobody else is really looking down. Nobody else looks like they're in the middle of prayer or, I've heard so many excuses in this. Right here, and I'm going to pull up this article, see almost exact same thing. Did Joe Biden, from the Gateway Pundit, did Joe Biden nod off or check his watch during Maui wildfire memorial service? There's pushback in this. There's a fact check down here, and I want to kind of go into this fact check. A video is spreading showing Joe Biden appearing to sleep while visiting wildfire survivors in. I can't read that from here, but they're in was a Lahaina in Maui County, Hawaii. This is false, it says. And I apologize for mispronouncing. And as sick as I am, complex pronunciations are tough. It says this is false. The longer video shows Biden not sleeping. Biden bowed his head for a brief few seconds. Facts matter. Yeah, facts do matter. But honestly, when somebody is speaking and they're pouring their heart out about this situation, I get that you're bowing your head, but keep your eyes up. Keep your eyes focused on the person who's talking. I've been to enough services and things like that. When you're the main person in question, your focus needs to be there. And it's tough, but personally, I mean, like I said, look at everyone else around you. Read the room. You know, coming from a guy who used to DJ all the time, read the room. If everybody else's attention is focused on the speaker, you should be as well. It's not a good look. You know the media is going to run rampant with it, whether you're on the left, on the right, in the middle, whatever it is. These are not good optics. You're responsible for a lot of this damage. You're responsible for not responding the way you should, and the people are pissed. The last thing you need to do is be in a position where you look like you're falling asleep. So with that being said, and like I warned you earlier, I've got a few people here, or a couple people here, that the Citizen Free Press have found, a couple of them, that really want to sound off, and they want to share their opinion. And I don't know if you guys have seen or heard from these individuals here, but these are a couple residents or people that have very strong opinions about the president's response, and I wanted to share these with you as well.
It is almost impossible to believe that this guy, that this old man, this Walmart greeter, this fake installed president, why the fuck is his wife with him wherever he goes? We didn't hire this person. I didn't hire you, Joe. You're a traitor. I know what you are. I know what Kamala is. I know what the Democratic Party is. And I know that we have a constitutional crisis of epic proportion. But hearing you talk about your house that, had a little fire, you almost lost your cat and your Corvette. There are children that were incinerated to ash. You fucking old man. You vile human being. The only way you feel you're able to communicate and you have some kind of, you're so out of touch with the common man, you don't even understand how to speak to them. The only way you think you can establish commonality with them is to lie. That the same thing happened to you, no matter what the tragedy is. Your son wasn't killed in action, by the way. Your house didn't burn down. Your children weren't burned to death. How dare you get up there and speak this way? Your job is to go there and assuage them in a way that you talk to them about their loss, that you can't imagine what it's like, that you can't imagine what it's like never to find the bodies of the poor children that were sent home from schools that died alone, in fear, without their parent or a guardian, that the most abhorrent thing happened. You're a disgusting, despicable bastard. You're too old. You need to step down from office. Maybe the cackling hyena behind you, maybe she'll rise to the occasion. She can't even form a coherent sentence. This is an outrage. An outrage. We should just rebuild the goddamn thing the way it was. When you hear the psychopath, the first thing out of the governor's mouth was, we're going to reclaim the land for this or for that. Who the fuck are the people we hire in government? And if there's any truth to the matter that this idiot held back the water, he should be sent down to Guantanamo Bay, never to be seen again. It's just outrageous how we behave in this country.
This guy brings up a lot of good points. the response, the vultures that have swung in on Hawaii in this whole thing to scoop up the land before everyone has even been accounted for. We've got people out there that are literally trying to plot out new properties on the ashes and the rubble of what happened in this devastation. And our president isn't taking it seriously at all. And I'm not trying to be, leaning one way politically or another. If Trump was in this position, whether it was Bush, Obama, Clinton, all these presidents from my lifetime, it doesn't matter who it was or who I voted for. Any president who would not take this at all seriously the way he has, a local government that hasn't taken this seriously the way that they have, I'd be calling them out just the same way. This guy here in the video, yeah, right there, he has every right to be upset. I know he's using a lot of bad language, a lot of colorful language, and then I do apologize for putting it through on my stream because I'm not trying to have that kind of a stream. But I don't think emotions should be censored in this situation. These people have every right to be pissed. Whether you're from there in Hawaii or not, these are very, very valid opinions. And we wouldn't be talking freely if we're censoring everything that we have to say. We got another person. And Citizens Free Press, I give them a lot of credit. They've been bringing these opinions directly to the scene over and over again. My timeline is flooded from these guys with all these videos that they've been finding, and I just wanted to bring a couple to you from what I'm seeing. Definitely go give Citizen Free Press a follow. They don't sponsor me or anything of that, but I think a lot of what they're putting out there is actually really decent stuff. It's nice to actually hear what people are thinking, because I have my circle of people here all the way across on the other side of the country here in Georgia, and I hear what they have to say, but I like to hear from there and everywhere in between. And it seems like the opinion seems to be getting a lot more universal? No, more common. More people seem to be agreeing and meeting here in the middle on the same thing. This gentleman kind of goes in a little bit further and like I said, has about the same opinion.
Up that line, Sleepy Joe. A lightning bolt have never almost burned your house down 60 years ago. You don't even remember last week, so how you remember some shit 60 years ago? Stop that line. So Joe Biden finally decided to come out of vacation and visit the great nation of Hawaii, okay? He was not welcomed with warm welcomes. He decided to do another one of his stupid ass speech. His speeches always seems the same type of speech, which is he gives a speech and he starts off with a story that he went through 100 years ago that is similar to the situation. And he always ends up turning the speech about him. It's always about him on every fucking speech he does. He can't finish a story. He always ends it with, well, never mind. Now, Sleepy Joe, you was wrong for sending these people $700 per household. Your whole administration is trash. The only reason he decided to visit is because he's been getting a crap load of backlash for being on vacation and not at a place where he is supposed to be at the moment, and sending Ukraine another $40 billion, or at least requesting. We all know that request is going to be approved anyways. And then he always mumbling and shit. What, Sleepy Joe? We don't understand what you slaying, Sleepy Joe. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? The motherfucker sleeps in mid-conversation. Y'all need to get this man off the goddamn stage. Get him off the stage.
I mean, is he wrong? $700 to recoup all the losses? Is $700 really going to fix what's going on? And then also at the same time requesting, what was it, $24 billion versus the $14 billion to Hawaii? Wanting to send $24 billion to the Ukraine? It's like, hold on, full stop. Your own citizens are dealing with a disaster of immense proportions right now. We should not be thinking about Ukraine. We have to take care of our own people first. Those are our tax dollars. That's our paychecks paying for this disaster relief. And you're going to sit there and minimize what you're going to pay to your own citizens while trying to maximize what is going to people who do not contribute to our country. That's way out of line. I could not imagine making a proposal like that. We have to take care of our citizens first. First, foremost, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum. You are important first. As a U.S. citizen, if you stood there and pledged that allegiance to the flag, just like I did, you have to be taken care of first. And I know whether you're an independent, liberal, libertarian, Democrat, conservative, Republican, all of us growing up in this country, we all had to say that Pledge of Allegiance. Even to my friends that are immigrants to this country, when they became citizens of this country, they also had to pledge that allegiance to the flag. You are the first ones that should be taken care of by our tax dollars. Not anybody else in any other country, not in some other random war. You, as a tax-paying American citizen, have to be taken care of first. These people in Hawaii, they're getting screwed. They're getting completely screwed. And again, these opinions here that I'm bringing up, they're completely valid. 100%. I would not get mad at those people. Of course, yeah, they're calling out Biden, and I'm not the biggest fan of Biden, if you haven't been able to figure that out. But I always try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, but there's nothing here. There's no benefit to be given. I mean, in one of the previous episodes I mentioned, Joe promised us a cancer cure. And we still don't see that cancer cure, Joe. I see lots of money going to cluster munitions in a war there in Ukraine. But I've got friends that are going in for chemo and stuff like that. They're not getting their cancer cure like you promised. Instead, we're getting a lot more division. We're getting inflation. We're getting crapped on just left and right. And, of course, everyone wants to text me now in the middle of me recording. Let me put that on silent. So let me switch gears on this a little bit. I'm not going to get far away from Biden here. I'm actually going to get into another story. One of Biden's biggest donors. I believe this was his second biggest donor. We have Sam Bankman-Fried here, Breitbart reporting. SBF pleads not guilty to latest FTX charges, claims to subsist on diet of bread and water. This is wild. Now, I don't know if y'all have ever been locked up before. But it's not like you're going to go stay at the Marriott Hotel or anything like that. Apparently he's upset that they're not giving him vegan meals or vegetarian meals. Guys, I hate to break it to you, jail is not the best place in the world. Sometimes they'll make special provisions for people, but you're just getting processed into the system. It's going to take some time to get to that point. You haven't been fully convicted. You haven't been rolled through the courts 100%. So they're not going to sit there and kneel to your every single demand. And you're not going to get everything that you want to get, unfortunately. I hate to break it to you. But for those of you that don't know, when the big crypto boom happened, this guy here had a firm, FTX, and also had another, I forget what it was called. he had another company that he was building up as well, and he was taking crypto investor money and bouncing it back and forth between these two organizations with him and his girlfriend and a few other friends of his. Ended up becoming one of the wealthiest people in the world. Joe Biden's second largest campaign donor. And now the SEC, I believe it is, yes, the SEC is bringing charges against him for potential fraud. Now, none of this has been convicted. Remember that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. But there was a crap ton of money taken from people just like you and me and was lost forever, while this man just got richer and richer and richer. And I'm going to duplicate this real quick. Oh, how about this? Sorry, folks. Duplicate. There it is. Give it to me. I'm going to read along with y'all. So, Washington, D.C. The Securities and Exchange Commission today charged Sam Bankman-Fried with orchestrating a scheme to defraud equity investors in FTX Trading Limited, FTX, the crypto trading platform of which he was the CEO and co-founder. Investigations as to other securities laws violations and into other entities and persons relating to the alleged misconduct are ongoing. According to the SEC complaint, since at least May 2019, FTX, based in the Bahamas, raised more than $1.8 billion from equity investors, including approximately $1.1 billion from approximately 90 U.S.-based investors. In his representation to investors, Bankman-Fried promoted FTX as a safe, responsible crypto asset trading platform, specifically touting FTX's sophisticated automated risk measures to protect customer assets. When it comes to investing, guys, always understand that there's a massive risk in all investing out there. I got into the crypto game. I was able to make a good bit of money. But when I started seeing stuff like this popping, and you had Gary Gensler and a few other people that were coming out, I knew at that point that I needed to pull out the bulk of my investment. And I did, and that saved me. It saved me big time. Now, I left a little bit in there to play around with, and every bit of the little bit that I left in there was money that I could afford to lose. And, oh my goodness, I lost. That little bit got destroyed. And so I'm glad I did what I did, because I didn't lose at all at the end of the day. But with everything that's going on here, it really makes me question, who is Biden putting in his circle? Who are the people that are investing into Biden and why? You don't see this kind of corruption and fraud into conservatives. At least I have not on my end. If you guys know of anything at this level that was investing into Trump or anyone that's running in the debates tonight or anything like that, please let me know so I could do some research, because I will definitely put that in the next episode. I want to see it. But this was the number 2 investor, investing millions of dollars into Biden and helping him get elected. And we saw a lot from Gary Gensler in the beginning, but I haven't heard anything from him since this whole thing started to break out. You know, Gary Gensler's in charge of regulating all of this. And nothing but crickets from him. I think that's kind of wild. Sam Bankman-Fried is now out there complaining about how he's being treated. And I think that's pretty wild, given that this man lost billions of dollars. And then you look at how the January 6th protesters, the people who just walked around on the property of the Capitol, look how they're being treated. Is Sam Bankman-Fried being thrown in a hole for 18 plus months? Is he, without clothes, without food or anything like that? No. Sam Bankman-Fried is complaining that he's not getting vegetarian meals. He also says that he's not getting his Adderall, which not getting your medicines does suck. But that's not a life or death situation right there, not getting your Adderall. As somebody who has prescribed that in my lifetime, I know coming off of it kind of sucks, but we're just talking about some bad days. We're not talking about the horrible treatment that like January 6 people are being delivered to every day right now. Sam Bankman-Fried kind of needs to humble himself and just focus more on his defense. And that's something that his lawyers are talking about, is because the way he's being treated, lack of proper food and medication, excuse me, lack of proper food and medication, it's not giving him a fair defense. Okay, if we're going to set that precedence right here, right now, with Sam Bankman-Fried, then I need these lawyers with the January 6 people to bring the same argument for them. Because I know when you're put in the hole in the prison or in jail, the hole, you're definitely not getting good diet, you're not getting good exercise, you're not getting good socialization. So those people are not able to defend themselves properly either. And that means that some of the people that went ahead and pleaded guilty desperately to get out of that situation, their cases need to be readdressed. Were they fairly treated? Did they have a fair trial? I think that there's some rights violations there. If this stands with Sam Bankman-Fried, it's got to stand with them as well. Something to think about. Let me know what you think about that or that information, that article below. Whoa. Got a little power surge there. All right. So, next thing coming from Just the News is Gavin Newsom, national constitutional amendment to limit gun access to be put on hold for right now. This is just temporarily on hold for the next couple months. Now, this is something I want to talk about because California is always trying to push their ideologies across the entire nation. And Gavin Newsom and a lot of these news articles like to talk about how their gun crimes and stuff like that have reduced. And there may be a little bit of truth to it, but it's just a little bit of truth. I spent some time this morning digging around and on this stuff, but I'm going to read this article a little bit and then go from there and show you some of the stuff that I found. According to Just the News, in light of potential issues surrounding the possibility of a runaway convention, the first hearing for Governor Newsom's national constitutional amendment to limit gun access was put on hold until August 29, 2023. The Joint Assembly and Senate resolution, featuring dozens of co-authors across both houses of the legislature, would call for a national constitutional convention to limit national gun access, bringing the nation in line with California gun access laws. National changes proposed would include universal background checks, ending gun ownership to those under 21, except in highly limited circumstances, create a minimum waiting period until a gun can be transferred to a buyer, and ban assault weapons, and I love that they put this in quotations, assault weapons and other weapons of war. Don't get me started on that one. They go deep into this article here about the specifics of how it works out. But I want to talk about the limiting guns. Limiting legal gun owners from owning guns does not reduce gun crime, or does not reduce violent crime. It may reduce some gun crime, but it does not reduce crime at all. In fact, it just changes the method in which crime is delivered. And that's a big part of what I found. So, first thing I want to kind of pick on here is crime trends in California. Gavin Newsom wants to sit there and parade around like what he's doing is making things much better. But in reality, it's not. There's a lot of issues that are being created here. Right here, this is from the PPIC, which is the Public Policy Institute of California. And they did a little bit of crime trend reporting here. And I thought this was actually kind of interesting. It says in this article that California's violent crime rate increased by 6% from 440 per 100,000 residents in 2020 to 466 in 2021. Now, it's a little difficult to get like 2023 numbers because we're still in the year, and normally this information releases a little bit later. But what we've seen is an increase in crime the more that these policies get rolled out. And I found it very interesting, and it kind of led me down a rabbit hole on this whole thing. And I noticed that the more and more that blue policies are rolled out in these places, the worse and worse things get. And another thing that they put into these stats is suicide rates. And they don't really make a distinguishment in the base reporting that you see on a lot of these mainline news organizations. They don't let you know that some of these gun injuries are just people hurting themselves. And people who are going to hurt themselves, if you take away the guns from them, they will go find something else. Either jump off a bridge, eat a bunch of pills, you name it. There's people that want to harm themselves will go find ways to harm themselves. But California has been dealing with increased crime year after year for a very, very long time. Even though they are celebrating a reduction since the early 90s, things are starting to get worse and worse and worse. And soon, I'm sure they will be back up to their crime stats in the 90s. And if I go to the Pacific Research Institute, they echo the exact same thing. So, not to just pick on California, I wanted to see exactly how this pans out in other places too. So I went to Google and I found backgroundchecks.org, and I thought this was a great little site. I read through everything that they have. They talk about gun-related homicides and suicides, and they brought up a lot of interesting studies here. I'll definitely give you guys the heads up on this and tell you to go check it out on your own. But they break out these lists here of counties with the highest rates of gun deaths. And as I was digging around, I found something very, very interesting. So I started looking at the places with the highest gun violence, gun deaths. What kind of political affiliations do they have? What kind of policies are being made? I thought this is very interesting. We come here to my own state and we look at number 1, which is reported as the highest. And this is from bestplaces.net. And they report the general voting lean or demographics of each place. And when we pull up DeKalb County, which has the highest per 100,000 people, I think it was gun murders or gun violence. If you notice here, they have this scale. And you don't see a dot on it because the dot is actually all the way over here. It is so blue, it's off the scale, right? The number 2 place, the number 2 county, Hamilton County, Ohio. Not as blue, but still blue nonetheless. Number 3 on their list. Again, what was this? This was it Pima County, Arizona. Again, blue. Next place on the list, and this is just going in order from worst down, right? This is Cook County, Illinois. Off the charts blue. Next, coming back here to the state of Georgia, Fulton County, and they've been in the news a lot lately. What a surprise. Once again, blue policies. Guys, I don't think the problem is who's owning guns. I think it's in the policies of these cities and these counties. Because then we go to Alameda, California. And I believe this one's going to come back. I'm going to hold on to this tab a little bit separately. Alameda, California. Again, another problematic location. A little bit lower on this list. But again, very, very blue politics. So I want to get rid of some of these tabs I just threw out there. And you guys can go check this all out for yourselves. I'm not hiding anything. All my sources, you can always pause, rewind the video, and see the exact websites I'm going to. This is that list. And in fact, I think it was here, this county here, what was this, Oklahoma County. This is where we get our first conservative, which I don't have that pulled up anymore. I just closed out all my tabs. But they were just barely conservative in that place. There are some conservative counties, and I'm not saying that red places are perfect, but the overwhelming majority of places that have horrible gun crime tend to vote blue. And that's a big problem in my eyes. It's those policies that are causing the gun problems. It's not limiting gun access that's a problem. It's the policies behind them. Are we arresting people that are committing violence of any kind? Whether it's a gun, whether it's a knife, or improvised explosives, you name it. Whatever kind of crime, are we prosecuting those crimes properly? That's what we need to look into. And honestly, I think the people themselves are just getting fed up. I said we were going to come back to Alameda County. Let's take a look in California of what's going on, right? Because these blue policies have gotten so bad that the people are starting to they're starting to fight back. The problem in this county is the DA just does not want to prosecute people properly. Let's see here. Okay. So, effort to recall Alameda County DA Pamela Price takes major step forward. The group calling for Price's recall is known as Save Alameda for Everyone, or SAFE. It includes critics, activists, and members of families who have been affected by her policies, right? According to CBS, this isn't guns coming in that are the problem. It's the DA's policies that are causing the major problem in all of this. Only 7 months into her tenure, Price has already become a lightning rod in a heated conversation about criminal justice reform and public safety. She ran on a platform emphasizing restorative justice policies, including reducing sentences for younger offenders, eliminating most sentencing enhancements, and holding law enforcement accountable. So we're punishing the police and we're reducing sentences for the criminals. Think about this. Again, I'm not trying to be partisan in any way. I'm trying to meet halfway here, folks. Rewarding the criminal and punishing the protector. What other direction can you imagine that this is going to go? There's no other way it can go. And punishing people for legally owning a firearm and not breaking a law is not going to stop a criminal from going out there and breaking the law. Critics say she's too lenient on violent criminals, according to this article. District attorneys are an arm of law enforcement. Police officers arrest suspects, then it's up to the district attorneys to decide which charges to file. The more serious the charges, the more jail time. And that's the way it should be. Price has faced criticism for how she chose to charge two high-profile murder cases. One was the shooting death of a 2-year-old, Jasper Wu, who was riding in a car with his parents when he was fatally shot in the head. The other case involved Blake Mose, a loss prevention officer at a Pleasanton Home Depot, who was shot and killed 4 months ago during an attempted shoplifting. And so what are we doing? In both cases, critics say Price's office is being too lenient by not adding additional charges to increase jail time. Pamela Price is directly choosing to charge a quote in this article saying, Pamela Price is directly choosing to charge properly in my son's case, said Lori Mose, who was at Alameda County Register office when the recall paperwork was filed. It just seems to me that she's not being tough on crime. Nobody's learning a lesson. Nobody's being swayed from committing crimes. That's why these policies that Gavin Newsom is trying to put forward, they're not going to work. Reducing people under the age of 21 from owning guns. How's that going to help? Our soldiers, who are typically starting off at 17 to 18 years old, they can hold guns. And why can't regular citizens at that age hold guns? And honestly, in my opinion, I think there's a good argument to be made for younger than that to be able to own firearms. I don't see a problem in most cases. As long as a child or, maybe not child, but a teenager or something like that, as long as they're responsible with their ownership, I don't see a problem. Somebody who is obeying the law is not creating problems. And in fact, 9 times out of 10, most of these firearms sit on shelves collecting dust. Most, if not all, law-abiding citizens are not out there committing crimes. It's crazy to continue to punish citizens for obeying the law, while criminals themselves continue to get free pass after free pass after free pass. And then, one other thing I wanted to bring up in all of this is why people should honestly be able to keep their firearms. Why more people need to have firearms. Imagine this is you at home. In this article from Resist the Mainstream, Texas man sitting inside of his home had 2 individuals come up to his door. Now, he didn't go to the door. He actually had one of those Ring doorbell things. And these people were posing as maintenance men trying to get into his apartment. They left and they came back, and they had guns, and they tried to kick in his door. And so this guy, the homeowner or renter, he put a bunch of rounds through the door and scared those guys away. He defended himself. The people coming to the door are not obeying the law. They were trying to break into his home. They were trying to cause harm. And because the homeowner had a firearm, he was able to defend himself against the criminals. Now, if we limited him from owning a firearm, just like Gavin Newsom there wants to do, what would have happened to this guy? What would this news article be? I'm pretty sure this news article would then be, man gunned down in his own apartment, police still looking for criminals at large. And even if they got caught with people like that DA in place, what kind of sentence would they even get? That's the problems that we're having in this country. These are the things that I want to talk about. We talked about a lot in this episode here today, but the overall subject that I've tried to point out here is that these liberal policies, these Democrat policies that are in place right now, just aren't working out for the American people. Taking weapons away from law-abiding citizens, or not responding properly during emergencies, it's all just causing massive harm. Like, we need to do something different here. We need to help our own people. We need to give people the tools to improve and better their lives. And we need to listen to the people of this country. People are upset. I think we're going to see a very, very interesting turnaround in these upcoming elections. Even with everything that's going on with Trump and all these indictments and everything that are going on, I think we're going to see a much redder vote this time around. I think as a whole, most Democrats and most libertarians and most people who voted against Trump, I think they see the consequences of their actions. I think the percentage of vote blue no matter who people has greatly reduced. And I'd be highly surprised if we saw anything close to a neck and neck presidential run coming up here in the 2024 election. I'm just having a hard time finding any articles that are saying, oh, Biden's, in just these general polling, oh, people are very happy with what Biden is doing. Everyone's going to be voting for Democrats this year. I'm not seeing the same energy that we saw back in 2020. I'm not seeing any of that at all. So, but anyway, with that being said, let me know what you think. This has been We Talk Freely. My name is Drew Smith. Again, just looking for your open input. I'm curious to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments down below. Like I said, we're up on YouTube and Rumble now. This is our first episode here on Rumble, and I hope to have many, many more. I can't wait to hear y'all's thoughts. Sorry I'm not feeling that great today. I'm a little scatterbrained, and I promise in the next couple episodes I'll be a little bit more put together and have a lot better energy. But until then, y'all stay safe.